And welcome back. The Drone Age patch dropped last week and I wanted to make sure that I know what I'm talking about with the new vehicles. I also want to make sure that everything I say doesn't get changed a day later, so I have to make this video 2 or 3 times. We are going to be covering today the new vehicles, very briefly that is, the flight model changes, some missile changes, as well as some general gameplay changes. And yes, I will be only covering air content, as I have no idea what the ground is like, other than the T80 UK on which we made a video yesterday. But before we get started, I have a 3% discount link in the description. It will be on the top. You get a 3% discount for any purchase that you make. There is no decal yet, we are still designing it. It's coming around pretty nicely, but I'll keep you informed on when that drops. Also, thank you to all my patrons. Thank you all for supporting me in the backlines as well. But with that out of the way, let's get right into what you're here for. So starting off with the new vehicles, we have the MiG-23DN. This thing is essentially a MiG-23M at 9.7. However, you don't get any countermeasures and you don't get any air-to-air missiles. You do get these air-to-air rockets, as I would use them, the S-24s. I use them with a 1000 meter burst explosion kind of thing. And they do work as makeshift flares. You can run 4 of them, but I opt to run 2 because I want to run the gun pods, as it does increase your killing potential by a decent margin. These are the loadouts, and these are the loadouts that you can make for yourself. If you want to see them, feel free to pause it. I have tried the rocket pods, but I gotta tell you, these didn't exactly work very well in terms of flares. Your luck may vary, they didn't do it for me. Does it have anything for skins? Yes, it does. I am running the tricolor one. It also has the standard one, which is this. It's not exactly stellar, but hey, a skin is a skin. Not going to be complaining about it. I'm going to revert that instantly because I think it's hella ugly. There we go. On to the USSR. We have the Su-25 and the Su-25K. The Su-25K, as a premium, as a grinder, it is quite alright. For ground RB, ground pounding, if there's no AA up, you have a lot of killing potential, but it's the same as with the A10, cue the meme in the top right. If there's AA up, especially the Yorks or flak cracked or anything that has any kind of killing potential, you are going to be basically useless. The KH-29s as well as the KH-25s, well, they are guided, but they don't have any motion tracking, and the zoom on them is absolutely abysmal. So is it good? Sure, it's a decent plane in the current matchmaker, but you will be relying on people messing up an awful lot. Here is your loadout, R60 MKs, they are the same as the R60 Ms. Exact same, that is, just a different kind of name and something with the seeker, but in practice they are literally identical. Those are the loadout, feel free to pause it. Here are the loadouts over there. And the difference between this and the Su-25 normal? This thing has slightly more flares. This one has the spread pattern where they shoot up and then the second pop they pop to the side. That's about the only difference there is between these. And yes, they do have skins. Actually, quite a few of them. We have Frog. And we have the tricolor. I prefer the standard one, but that's of course up for debate. You also have a pre-order one, but I didn't manage to pre-order it, so I don't have it. This is hella ugly. Desert camo, as well as the one that I am running. Next up will be Great Britain. We have a Harrier Gr.7. The Harrier Gr.7 is essentially a slightly better Gr3. You have the same kind of acceleration. This thing, however, will turn a little bit better. And you get 3 Brazilian flares as well as the AIM-9Ls. And on top of that, you get the 25mm Aidens. These guns slap extremely hard, but do keep in mind, you only have 100 rounds per gun. And yeah, you're seeing that right. That's 850 rounds per minute, giving you a grand total of about 3 seconds of firing time. Not exactly stellar, but the guns hit hard, and I do recommend you to run the ground loadout. Let's look at the skins. Just kidding, it doesn't have any. Let's look at the loadout here. You have quite a few things you can choose from. And you want to be careful with the AIM-9L loadout, because you have the countermeasures 160 and you have the ammo 1. Pick the ammo 1. If you don't, you're gonna be out of luck because you're not actually bringing the right loadout out. AIM-9Ls, guided bombs, you know, Aiden, you can bring the targeting pod and only a gun. I believe it's something like, wait, let me actually try it for you. You need to bring out, I believe it's like this. There you go, you can bring out one gun. Only like this though. I'm not sure if I can now remove that and turn it into one gun. You can, but I have no idea why you would. However, you can bring one gun if you do need that in ground RB. Other than that, it's all bombs, targeting pods, and more missiles. Pretty diverse loadout. And again, a video on all these new vehicles will be in the description. Japan gets absolutely dick all. It does get something changed in the Key 43 and the N1K, but it doesn't actually affect the flight performance. Here we are with the G91Y. The G91Y, well, it's not exactly stellar. It is the exact same as the G91YS. That's a nice skin though. I wish I had that in my video. But you don't have any missiles. You don't get the CCIP. This thing will get it for the guns, the rockets and the bombs. This one will be 9.3 without flares against the Su-25 spam and the new and improved A9L of the A10. You're going to be taking some Ls. Not exactly fun to fly. You can bring the rocket pods. I recommend these. 76, you can also run only 2 of them if you want to reduce a little bit of weight. But of course you can jettison them, which makes it nice. However, you can say I want to jettison only 2 of them. So you are forced to either pick 4, none or 2. You cannot like say I bring 4, I drop the outer 2 mid-game and then I will be fine. No. Do keep in mind from behind our 60Ms are pretty nasty. They don't really care about the flares if they get within like 1 kilometer, so make sure you get ample distance before the enemy can pull his nose on you. And then we have arrived at the crown jewel of the patch, the Mirage 2000. And yes, it is actually good. And I can't believe I am saying this about a French vehicle, but we actually arrived at the timeline where the French get a decent vehicle. You still have the Defas, which are absolutely abysmal. However, you have the Magic 2s. And you have the R530Ds, and the R530Ds are pretty damn good. The radar of this plane is absolutely nuts. It's extremely hard to notch, and with the new missile changes, these missiles, well, if you maintain the lock, let me tell you, 99% of the enemies are not going to be dodging them. Extremely potent, pretty mid top speed, only 1365 IAS, which isn't exactly stellar, but might not be beating a Phantom anytime soon. It can hold its own versus it and is definitely one of the top 5 top tier planes that we have in the game right now. Then we arrive at the Vautour. Oh, I forgot actually. It does have some skins. And it does, that's a decal. And it does have some loadouts. Here's your desert camo. Here's your ugly camo. And here is your prototype camo, which I haven't actually seen myself yet. Not a fan, but hey, looks alright. For the loadouts, well, there's not really much to go over here. It doesn't really have much. You do have to make your own loadout to make this kind of thing. You cannot bring the 530s and the 550s. Yeah, the 550s from stock. You need to make it yourself, but it's a minor thing. And of course, you can bring some bombs in the racks that you aren't using. But I mean, do you really want to? At least in ground RB. I wouldn't, but hey, to each their own. Here we have the Vautour IIN late. Now it has some funny missiles. It has the, well, AA-20s as well as the 511. But flight model is bugged currently. It does have the all-flying tail, but only half the tail does anything. So you are going to be compressing like an absolute unit. And well, you're still 8.7, so you are going to be up-tiered into all aspect range. And when that happens, well, kiss your ass goodbye. You are barely fast enough to even outrun one of those planes. Not exactly fun to play. If it gets changed, I'll probably take it out. But until then, you are not going to be seeing a video on this thing anytime soon. Sweden then gets the AR196. But, I mean, 1.3 premium. Yeah, no luck flying this thing. Not exactly stellar. I don't think many people are interested anyway. You can't even make your own loadouts. Come on, Gaijin. And these guns are, well, not exactly amazing either. MGFF, those are not the FFMs, these are the ones without the minigatures, which means that, well, these guns do absolute dickhole in terms of damage. Does it get a skin? I have no idea. Yes, it actually does get 2. We have the bicolor one, how pretty, and the unpainted, which is probably actually going to be, never mind. It's not as good as I thought it would be. But that's all the new vehicles. Let's go on to the next segment where I'm going to be covering some of the changed vehicles. We have the XF5F, absolutely hideous plane, and I know this decal is absolutely appalling like this. I mean, the entire plane kind of is. The thrust got changed at lower speed, and that's the only difference. We'll make a video on this thing pretty soon here. Video is already done basically, and no, I'm not being ironic. That's actually coming out relatively quick here. Then we go to Germany. Horten gets changed in the ailerons. It's a little bit different now, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't change that much. Onto the USSR. Nothing here got changed. Britain gets changed in the Sea Fury. The Sea Fury gets a little bit less fuel, making it a little bit lighter, a little bit more maneuverable, and all the benefits that come with that. However, it's still a Sea Fury. It's not exactly maneuverable, so every little bit that you get is definitely welcome. Keep in mind, probably won't still be very good, but above is above. Japan gets changed in the Ki 43, as well as the N1K2. However, in practice, nothing really changes. It's just specifications in the files. So in terms of flight model, it's exactly the same. And then on to the last part of the changes, at least vehicle specific. Basically, all missiles in this game got reworked. The bad missiles like the AIM-9B, the AIM-9E, the R3Rs, the R3S, I mean, those are all worse. They pull slightly less, they are slightly less maneuverable. However, all the good missiles like the AIM-9G and up, AIM-9G, AIM-9J, Magic 2s, Magic 1s, R24s, Sparrows, you know, all the good, the better stuff basically. They are more agile. And radars are a lot harder to notch now. And I'm not talking about the radar specifically, I'm talking about mostly the missiles on them. What that means is very simple. Normally, when you lock someone up, they're coming towards you, you get a lock. They start going 90 degrees on, they start notching your radar, and you might still have the lock on them, but the missile will not be able to track. That is not really the case anymore. So planes like this thing right here, that heavily banked on its radar, and now actually have AIM-7Fs, I believe, since last patch. Come on, hurry it up. I'm not entirely sure if it does. Yes, it finally did get them. But now, they're actually useful, because this radar is absolutely disgusting, just like the Mirage radar. But now you can't notch the missile itself as easily anymore. And even when you get cold aspect shot, so when the enemy turns around for you, you can still lock them up with your radar and your missile will still hit its mark. It's a lot harder to dodge radar missiles now, at least the good ones. And it's a lot harder to dodge the normal good IR missiles as well. There is something, however, and that is mainly the AIM-9G as well as the AIM-9Ls. Remember the AIM-9Gs, when you shot a missile at someone, it would overcorrect and then you could kind of pull in and dodge them relatively easily. They pull a lot more like AIM-9Js now, which means that they are not as easy to fool. They are a lot harder to get rid of and you just want to be careful with them, especially the AIM-9Ls. They do not give a single shit about flares if the afterburner is on. Turn that shit off even in the head-on. Very often they are just going to slam you out of the air and you are going to be slamming your desk. Other than that, I will put all the missile changes in the description. Thank you to the Redditor, I forgot his name, but I'll credit you right there. Same guy as I did in the previous patch overview. And then let's look at some of the changes. First off, jettisoning weapons. You go to aircraft, you go to jettison. I have it on page up, a very inaccessible key. You don't press it on accident, which is very handy. And then you can of course select your weapon. So I have multiple weapons on right now. You need to select what you want to drop. So I want to drop my S50s. I'm going to press page up and there they go. They all disappear. They just went empty. Sometimes you still have the rockets on, sometimes they keep floating in the air. This time, however, that didn't happen. Keep in mind, however, when you empty your rocket tray, for example, suddenly you can't drop them anymore. Then if you press it instantly, you drop the wrong missile. There goes my KH-29. Not exactly ideal. So be careful what you have selected, and it's kind of annoying actually that you can't really drop your empty shit. So you kind of have to wait until you have one rocket left and then drop it, but then you're wasting a rocket, so it's a little bit unlucky. And now I'm going to see if I can still duplicate R60s. Nope, they actually fixed it. Well, before, if you had one R60 left and then you dropped it, the other pylon would spawn one mid-air. But the jettisoning stuff is pretty nice. Definitely welcome. However, I would like to see that you are able to drop something that you've actually used completely, because right now you can't do that because, well, let me tell you, you're out of ammo, and because you're out of ammo you don't have the weapon selected anymore, which means that you can't actually drop it. So I'm gonna see if I can do it if I'm quick enough, or you can do it if you instantly drop it, but if you forget about it then you're kind of boned. But yeah, that's jettisoning. Also, one thing, and I'll show you real quick. I'll just show you the maneuverability of this thing and the speed loss in the meantime. As well as how bad this is. This is the total zoom that you get. And it doesn't actually, you know, whatever. What a nice explosion. So, when we go for a landing. Now, you probably already know where this is going if you have been playing lately. See, if you're not quick enough, you drop the wrong set, so be careful with that. So now when you land, your parachute doesn't deploy on its own anymore, and you actually have to do it yourself, which is kind of annoying. A lot of you guys are just belly landing, I know, but I like some realism in my game. I know, it's not DCS, it's not a simulator. No one cares, man. So now when you're holding the brake key, it doesn't auto-deploy, you need to bind it. I'm too fast currently. There we go, you have to press it manually, otherwise they will not come out, which is kind of annoying. You know, it's not game breaking, it's not super much of an hassle, but you need to select it now, or you need to equip it, quote unquote. So you just go to parachute, and then you realize that it's not actually there. So drag shoe, there we go. I have it on Alt G, that's the default. It should be for you as well. And then some general things to wrap it up. So when you died, you got a 15-second timer. They removed it. Now you can actually fly around indefinitely again. Currently there are fuel explosions which help guns like the Defas quite substantially. They're still not top tier. Well, they are a top tier, but they're still not the best guns. But they feel a bit better. They're not necessarily great still. They're still slow. They're still inaccurate. They still don't have much range. But at least now you have a chance of blowing people up with a few rounds, which is definitely welcome, especially considering the Mirage 2000 arrived and it's finally a good plane. Now the Defas aren't completely unusable and you might actually get some kills with them. And then there is a bug going on right now, at least we are thinking it's a bug. You cannot G-lock currently, you cannot black out with your pilot. And I do think it's somewhat of a good change currently, because that means it levels the playing field with everyone that has bad crews, making them slightly less pay to win. Because normally when you have G-tolerance and stamina, plus expert crew is like +8 in total. It's going to give you such a leg up on the opposition that it will make your life a lot easier. And I do think closing that gap a little bit is nice, making it slightly less pay to win. But I think it would be better if it was just like +8 for everyone. Maybe with some expert crew you can get a little bit of an advantage because you are investing some money. I do think that's completely fine. But I think it's a little bit too far apart. I think it's a little bit too important to buy the crews, and this will level the playing field a little bit. I would like to see some blacking out again, but I do think that having a level 1 crew should not make you black out by turning 2 Gs. I have a video flying a 0 with a level 1 crew. Feel free to check that one out as well. But in general, it's kind of nice as it doesn't really screw over all the people with bad crews, but at the same time, it's a little bit too much currently. And that's all the changes for now. Feel free to let your thoughts know down below. All the changes will be in the description. All the new vehicle reviews will be in the description as well. Feel free to check those out. And otherwise, well, you don't. Other than that, that's all I have for you today. See you all in the next one.